You create a racism of soft expectations, and there is no way, first off, this questionnaire could possibly create any consistency. It is guaranteed to create more racism. Students at San Diego State University are now offered extra credit if they take a quiz to determine their level of white privilege. So this story comes to us as Professor Day Elliott offered the option to her sociology class students a white privilege checklist that includes 20 questions that aim to illustrate, quote, racial privilege is one form of privilege. So what is white privilege? Well, listen, we're going to take the quiz today. Right here. And the quiz lets us know from Peggy McIntosh, Associate Director of Wellesley College Center for Research on Women, so you know it's good, describes white privilege as an invisible package of unearned assets which I can count on cashing in each day, but about which I was meant to remain oblivious. White privilege is an invisible, weightless knapsack of special provisions, mass, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we decided that we were going to take the test here today. These are actual questions. This is being given out in college. So question of the day, do you think that you're the beneficiary of white privilege? And who benefits from more privilege? The upper middle class, black American or brown American or immigrant whose parents are wealthy, have college degrees and got to go to good schools, lived in a good area, or the white fatherless child from a trailer park in Arkansas? Different strokes.
Different strokes. We should address the elephant in the room first. Comic Sans.
Yes,
on the college
that
quiz.
Is the elephant. What is this, a clown college?
What are you guys, the font police over
Does
here?
your professor?
Come on.
We're going to learn about white privilege. Following our examples, according to this list of ways white individuals have privilege because they are white. So please read the list and place a check next to the privileges that apply to you or those that you have. All right, well, that is up at Letter with Credit. You can play along at home.
It's like Family Feud, but
Exactly.
the one where you always lose.
Yeah, follow along at home. Just follow the bouncing ass. Okay. Number 1. I can arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. Okay. Let's. I don't know about you. I have literally never made those arrangements.
Yeah, ever.
It's never come up like, hey, you know, we should really get the wives together tonight. Do you want to have? Oh, wait, hold on. She's not colored, is she?
I know you haven't done this, Crowder,
So I'm not
because
gonna-
you miss our white party every Tuesday night. You're never
yeah.
there.
That's because I'm always at the Illuminati meetings. All right.
Very nice.
Number 2, I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured that I will not be followed or harassed. Well, not if you're an attractive woman. Those are the ones
there
who
you
get
go.
the most
Yeah.
harassed. I guess the implication here is that they're following you around. I assume probably if you're an ethnic minority. Though again, I mean, listen, it depends where you are and which neighborhood you are, because that would determine the profile of somebody who stole their last pair of kicks at Foot Locker. I don't blame the guy making $7.50 an hour. It depends where you are. It depends what the demographics are.
Context matters.
Context matters.
All right, number 3. I can turn on the television or open the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely represented. This is a good example of how leftists are just constantly dealing in the past, reopening old wounds, slavery. You go back to the Civil War, newspapers. They couldn't possibly pick anything out today that would be relevant. By the way, I can turn on the television or front paper to see. Well, okay. Am I turning it on to BET?
This is true.
Or am I turning it on to Oxygen? I mean, this will determine what I see. I mean, this is something it's less relevant than ever because media is so it's so fractioned.
It is fractioned.
Yeah, people can pick whatever they want. People set their home pages. That's also why we live in more of a political echo chamber than ever,
Sure.
which, by the way, they also wrote about. Number 4, when I'm told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is.
Wait.
What? No one's taught that people of your color. We're taught that good people made civilization what it is. Okay? This is they have people taking this test. What does this say? This says to people who are not white. They think we have like secret textbooks that they don't have. Like, so the founding of America, which was entirely white. That's the takeaway here. By the way, all the history books about Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman, along with the monuments, white people put them up. You're welcome. This is the divide and conquer that people don't. First off, it creates this idea of a monolith, which marginalizes any minority more than they intend to, and it's also really stupid. Number 5, I can be sure that my children will be given curricular materials that testify to the existence of their race. Okay, in addition to the question of the day, Okay, request it. Can anyone out there who has children send it to me on Twitter or comment below at @scrowder or at @NotGayJared. If any of you have had children come home with curriculum materials that testify to the existence of their race, I will personally send you a lock of Not Gay Jared's hair.
That's going to be incriminating.
Number 6, I can go into a music shop and count on finding the music of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the food I grew up with, into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. Okay.
Oh, dear Lord.
This one is just, can I go into a music shop and find my race represented? If you're trying to sell this one as marginalized, listen, just look at the Billboard Top 100, okay? Black people, Latinos are far overrepresented in music, and the good thing is it's a meritocracy, apparently.
Yeah.
So listen, I don't care, but you act as though you can't go into a music shop. As far as, can I go into a supermarket and find the food I grew up with? Well, if you're at a supermarket that doesn't have the food you grew up with, where did you grow up? That's the issue there. Did you move to a different neighborhood? By the way, liberals have entire foundations saying that bad neighborhoods. I remember when I lived in New York, there was this drive for Spanish Harlem. Like, they don't have access to healthy food.
Access to healthy food.
And the obesity epidemic, the diabetes rates in the American black community is really bad. So maybe it's a good thing that Trader Joe's came on into your town. Al Roker's going to be pissed. There's a Whole Foods in our neck of the woods. Yeah, that's why we can finally see yours now, Al. Yeah. Back to you. This is all one question, by the way. Sorry, I hope you're in here for the long haul today. Into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. It's funny that you bring that up because I was trying to think of an example of anywhere that you might find places that could cater hair-wise to ethnic minorities. But then I found Barbershop 1, 2, and 3. The beloved films, along with Beauty Shop and their sequel. It is actually something that is so culturally ubiquitous in the black community that they have films about them. Number 7,
it's good stuff.
Whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance of financial responsibility. Okay. If you're using cash, credit cards, or checks, okay, if it's not counterfeit money, if the credit card works, and if the check clears, you're good.
Yeah.
Like, what do they think?
It's an open system for everybody.
Just walk in with as a white person. And by the way, this is just white privilege. So it's basically white versus everybody. So we're including everybody.
Exactly.
This is, Asians, Indians, blacks. Name it. Obviously, Indians are Asians. I know someone's going to leave it coming. Asians, Latinos, Mexicans, black, insert whatever here, Middle Eastern. Yeah. So this is white people versus everybody else. What do you think? You think white people walk in and are like, well, your credit card doesn't work. Oh, really? That's fine. It's on me.
It's on me.
And you think a black person swipes
Run on now, you hear? Run on.
Yeah.
Go on.
What do you think? Swipe their Amex Platinum and the guy goes, I actually hit decline. Please, I want to go bankrupt because you're a Negro. Number 8. I am not made acutely aware that my shape, bearing, or body odor will be taken as a reflection on my race. I didn't even understand what this made. Like, I don't think about it, but I guess there are certain people come from certain parts of the world. And this isn't a color thing. Okay, that's one for you. Number 9, I can worry about racism without being seen as self-interested or self-seeking. The only people who could check this box are everyone who are not white people. The only people who actually can worry about racism without being seen as self-interested or self-seeking. We're the only ones who aren't allowed to. We're the only ones who can't. Yeah. That's why we're like, hey, can we have a conversation about race? And they just tell the professors, no. Okay, thank you. And they leave. All right, let's move on to number 10. I can take a job or enroll in a college with an affirmative action policy without having my coworkers or peers assume I got it because of my race. Okay, this is where we start to get into the meat of this here, okay? Leftists are the ones who've done a great disservice to any kind of minority, particularly black Americans. Okay, let's talk about this. We've talked about this with affirmative action. They put students into programs for which they're not qualified, and then they end up in the bottom 50%. They can't keep up. They end up having more anxiety disorders. Affirmative action hurts people. It doesn't help people. And yeah, it does create an environment where people they wonder if you've earned that spot. You know who's probably most lyrical is Asians.
Yeah.
That's very true.
But I do better on my SAT. Yeah, sorry, Pang, but we have to give that spot to a black guy. Your folks do too well. I thought it was meritocracy. No.
Used to be.
Number 11. I can be late to a meeting without having the lateness reflect on my race. The fact that this is in here, first off, I can be late to a meeting. No one can be late to a meeting. Second, that you're asking this means that you plan on perhaps being late to a meeting. And the fact that you're saying, hey, if I'm late to this meeting, does it reflect on my race, means that you're assuming that it's kind of a negative stereotype that people of your race are late to meetings. So here's the solution. Don't be late.
Show up on time.
This question might
didn't even
as
know
well
this was a
read
thing.
that I can be personally completely unaccountable and childish, and it won't reflect negatively if there is a pattern of people from my ilk being irresponsible and childish. By the way, I'm not saying this. I didn't really know. Actually, I will say, I do know doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they've often said people run on Brazilian time.
Yes,
They're
yes,
kind of
yes.
known
Oh,
for
yeah.
being late.
South Americans definitely in general, but that's a
It's-
lot of people.
I've never
And
heard of it
they
as being
call
a
it that
black
themselves.
thing.
I know black people. They call it CPT time.
Yeah.
Colored
Yeah.
people time. Black people time.
Oh, really?
Indian people. Yeah, they call it that themselves. They
I've
know
never
it.
heard that.
Could you imagine even asking these questions to a black person, even in an affirmative
Oh, no.
manner?
Yeah.
Say, hey, I know you're late today. I just want you to know.
Yes.
I know it's not because you're black.
He's asking these questions.
What'd you say?
I know you're late, but just so you know, listen, everyone here, we'd prefer you be on time, but we're not attributing that to you being a Negro.
It's okay.
This test, by the way, isn't really circulated to check white privilege. This is something that's
Oh, of
designed to
course
stoke the
not.
fires. So
Yeah.
the fact that this test exists tells me that professors like this who create these tests, they're telling their black students that we're somehow being taught that only white people created civilization, that we're somehow being taught that all black people are late, and that if we're late, that it's okay. This is the racism of soft expectations. This is a really big problem. Okay, let's not belittle this, because these people are teaching your children who are going to be building your planes. Think of that for a second.
That scares me.
Number 12, I can choose public accommodation without fearing that people of my race cannot get in or will be mistreated. Well, it's funny that you bring this up, because white people don't have segregated safe spaces like you have at Brown and Cal State. And what is it, University of Minnesota?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, you could probably name multiple places where only black people are. And listen, I think that's fine if you want to have it. But let's not act as though you don't. The only place where this doesn't happen in public areas, again, are for white people. This question is based on a lie. Number 14, you can take this test along with us at
13.
home. Oh, 13.
13,
I
yes.
am never asked to speak for all of the people of my racial group. Well, here's the thing, too. This is what the left does. You act as though women, feminism, exists in a monolith. LGBTQAIP, they exist in a monolith. That they all have the same opinion. Black people all have the same opinion. It's all right. Let's bring out Farrakhan. Oh, okay. Turns out he's a warmongering, violent anti-Semite. All right. Let's bring out
Sharpton.
Sharpton.
Yeah.
Oh, turns out he's retarded. Okay. Let's bring out the next black guy. Right? You speak for all black people.
Jesse
don't
Jackson
you?
didn't turn out too well.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson. Well, I don't know. Van Jones.
Oh boy.
Right?
Right?
No.
I don't know. You ask people to do it. And then you tell people who don't agree with your opinion that they aren't black, that they aren't Latino.
That they're Uncle Toms.
That they're Uncle
Yeah.
Toms, that they're not true, that they're women they're
Sellouts.
self-loathing women because they don't want to kill their unborn children. Number 14, I can be pretty sure that if I ask to talk with the person in charge, I will be facing a person of my race. Oh, okay. I can go to this area. There's a place in town where I can go and ask to speak to the person in charge, and he will guaranteed not be a person of my race. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be able to ask the person in charge because I can't ask for him in Spanish. This depends on where you live.
Very true.
Is this in inner city Detroit? Is it in the deep bayou? Is it in Louisiana on the bayou? Is this in Jacksonville, Florida? Or is it Miami? If you ask to speak to a person in charge, it
Anyone in
depends
the
on
Baltimore
demogra-
Council.
Yes, anyone. Well, if I'm asking to speak to anyone in the Baltimore City Council, I'm probably not going to look like them. Number 15.
This is the stupidest test.
If a traffic cop pulls me over or if the IRS audits my tax return, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race. Listen, this is one of those, no one can be sure of any of these things because it's very difficult to prove. As far as the IRS, the only proof that we do have is that the Obama administration actually used it as a political weapon to target conservatives. So pretty sure that if you pulled that lever for the R and you're being audited,
Maybe.
there's reasonable doubt there. All right, number 16. I can easily buy posters, postcards, picture books, greeting cards, dolls, toys, and children's magazines featuring people of my race. First off, buy spelled B-Y. I hope you don't speak for your entire race, Miss Peggy McIntosh, because going by the last name, I'm guessing if I ask for the person in charge, right? It's probably not. We probably have a different makeup shade, but it's close. It's close, Peggy.
It's very close.
And then greeting cards, dolls, toys, children's magazines featuring people of my race. Yes. I'm pretty sure that anyone in this country can find picture books, greeting cards, or dolls of people of their race. As a matter of fact, I know you can. Number 17, I can choose blemish cover or bandages in flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. Okay, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here when
I'm
we're dealing
done.
with white
I
privilege.
mean-
Flesh colored. A couple of things. First off, it depends on where you are. It depends on where you are. If you're in a place that is a majority white, meaning that 70-something or 80-something% of the population are going to have a specific colored skin tone, they might call it flesh colored. But by the way, here, if you're in Mozambique, it probably be something different. But I don't know that in a lot of these countries they have bandages, because that's something that's brought to you by the modern world. Again, brought to you by good people, not necessarily any specific person of an individual race. We created bandages, whereas in these other countries, perhaps like Zambia or Mozambique, they're still wrapping wounds with used, filthy rags like us from the Revolutionary War. So we're giving you our you're welcome for bandages. Unfortunately, when we created bandages, we didn't have the foresight to realize that at this point, I think we were probably still trying to end slavery in some capacity, or the Civil Rights Act. We didn't think, hey, maybe 85 years or 200 years, I don't know when bandages were invented, I don't have a source of that. Down the line, someone's gonna bitch about this being a violation of their civil rights because I wrote down the name flesh, and then at that point we'll call it black, but it'll be too late. So damn it, I can't believe that eluded me. You're welcome for bandages, and we couldn't retroactively go back and not call it flesh colored. So we'll give you that one. We're sorry, but it's not quite the same as having to ride at the back of the bus. 18.
Yes.
I can do well in a challenging situation without being called a credit to my race. But this whole thing, but number 4, so when I'm told about international relation, I'm shown that the people of my color made it what it is. As though you want to be notified that it's a credit to your race.
It's a trick question.
And now when someone does this, it's like, hey, Rosa Parks did some good stuff. She's a credit to her. Don't say it.
Don't
Racist.
say it. Did the same person write all these questions?
Number
How do
18
you know?
is entirely a violation of number 4. This is why the left can't keep it straight. Out in public, the Oppression Olympics, the very same person who spelled by, B-U-Y, wrote this and contradicted her own. And it's only a 20. It's not like it's a final
a lot,
exam that requires a number 2 pencil with a Scantron. This is easy stuff. It's just a check mark. It's not even multiple choice. Number 19, I can walk into a classroom and know I will not be the only member of my race.
I mean,
It depends on which classroom you're walking into. Is it the film where Hilary Swank goes to the wrong area of town to help the kids, the Freedom Riders?
I hate that film.
Or is it the Karate Kid School where everyone looks like Hitler Youth?
you
It
go.
depends where you go to school. Take the last question, all right. I can enroll in a class at college and be sure that the majority of my professors will be of my race. Couple of things here. I'm so glad this was the last question. First off, this is impossible. Okay, if this is meant to just talk about marginalized, it cannot be, it says majority, not plurality. Okay, so you can't have a majority black, you can't have a majority Latino, one of them. So you're gonna have to issue out another questionnaire talking
true,
about
yeah.
either black privilege or brown privilege. You're gonna have to have another segregated only, only insert
That's-
race here space. This cannot work. Someone's getting cannibalized. Someone's getting an apple in their mouth and roasted over a fire because you demanded a majority, not even a plurality. You didn't word this properly. Secondly, ensure that the majority of be sure that the majority of my professors will be of my race. Okay, well, let's go back here. There you go, number 10. I can take a job and enroll in college with affirmative action without my coworkers or peers assuming that I got it because of my race. Well, why would they think that? Maybe because number 20 asks that you can be sure that the majority, not plurality, of your professors are people of your race. So how are you sure? How can you be certain that an amount of black people or brown people are professors? You cannot be certain of anything regarding demographics in a meritocracy. It'll be different every single graduating year. So now in number 20, you're saying, I can be sure that a majority of my teachers will be black. And by the way, when a majority of them are black, you cannot assume that it's because we created a policy so that you could be sure they were a majority black. You create a racism of soft expectations, and there is no way, first off, this questionnaire could possibly create any consistency. It is guaranteed to create more racism, and you have no idea, no self-awareness as to the fact that all of your secondary questions, all of your questions in the second half of this test completely contradict your first questions. And this is why people don't respect you. Also, it's spelled by B-U-Y. Hey, did you like this video? Of course you did. Unless there's something wrong with you, in which case you can comment below. What's your problem with this video? We want to hear from you, and we promise you 100%, I give you, my word is my bond, we'll answer every single negative comment. For those who are normal, you can leave a thumbs up and subscribe.